Let's talk, guys. Now let's talk about Dominik Szoboszlai. Then 2 games now with 2 goals. Very, actually not that dissimilar. Left-footed strikes, probably not the most convincing strikes, but good enough to wrong-foot the goalkeepers. You mentioned earlier, Chloe, actually, how knackered he was post Manchester City, and he really was. He put an absolute shift. For him to recover, and come back, less than 3 days, 3 days later, and play like he did again. It feels like at this moment in time, he's in as good a form as we've seen him in his Liverpool career. He's getting the goals that Arne Slot wanted from him. He's getting the assists that Arne Slot wanted for him again this season. Yeah, that was quite the impressive performance from a lad who literally gave it his all just on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it's an absolute joke, because I remember sitting here a couple of days ago and saying, surely he can't go again. Like, we might need to make a sub in the middle of the park, give him the rest that he needs and he deserves after literally giving absolutely everything at the Etihad. And he plays, and he's tracking everything. He does so much defensive work, especially because on that right-hand side, Salah's being told to do less of the defensive responsibility. So Sobo's got to pick up his workload as well. He's just absolutely everywhere. And to do all the defensive work and the defensive actions and then arrive in the box at the correct time and be able to finish off the chances. And like you said, wasn't a great shot for his goal, but he puts it in. He also has a lovely shot. I don't know who, maybe Salah lays it off to him, and he puts it just past the post. That's the first half as well. And yeah, I was absolutely stunned furthermore when I saw Alexis McAllister and Ryan Gravenberch come off, and Dom Szoboszlai still stays on the pitch, and I'm like, how has he still got this energy in him?
I definitely thought he'd come off after an hour at least.
Yeah,
credit to him.
Yeah, to be honest, if Diaz hadn't been on the pitch, he would have been man of the match. I think Szoboszlai.
I think he was given. I think he was given. The TNT coverage given on the match as well. And you said, John, we've sat on these shows. We've done most of these games together for the final word shows and things like that. And you've always said you wish he shoots more. And he did it again.
I'm thinking, when I'm saying that he's going to be hitting 30 yards because he's got this great shot.
Like the second goal.
But he's not doing that now. He's scoring goals by getting into the box, and scoring, you can't say these are rocket thunderbolt shots. They're just well placed. And I think the fact that he hit it first time was the key on the one last night, because he didn't take a touch at all, as he might have done in the past. He just swept it into the corner, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Pope, that's Pope's one strength, isn't it? Saving shots. He's no good with distribution or anything, and then he can't get anywhere near it.
Yeah, it was quite a strange goal, but his all-round performance, because you mentioned before, and it was a great point. If you look at his heat maps and stuff, it's all down the right, because he's there because we tell Mo Salah just go and be Mo Salah.
He's now got that lovely relationship with Salah. I think the Henderson used to have. The two of them are really strong down that side now.
But it's interesting because he isn't. If you his heat maps either down the right or as the number 10. So to have the engine, Chloe, to be I'm covering on the right, I'm covering on the right, I'm covering on the right, I'm getting in the box, and that run is relentless. I'd love to know how much distance he covered and all that kind of stuff, because. Yeah, you mentioned it before. Newcastle coming off the game at the weekend. They had a home game against Forest. Obviously, different circumstances. Liverpool then having the City game. Szoboszlai looked the fittest player on the pitch, and that, again, you can only say that's as good as his quality is and his technical ability, which we know he's always got. This ability to find this extra gear that he's got at the moment, it's like he's got two hearts. It's like it's sensational. The amount of running that he gets through, it just opens the whole game up for us all 90 minutes.
It does, and it means when other people are slacking. And I think I think before McAllister's goal, Liverpool lose the ball and Trent has done a really bad pass and he kind of gives up on it, and it's like, okay, well, we know that Sobo's going to be busting a gut to get back there, so that's okay. You can see when a player's fuming with themselves, and Dom will be the one to go and chase back and try and make up for the sloppy work that's being caused. He is absolutely relentless. I don't know how he does it, because being a number 10 and being cover for Trent and doing the role of Mo Salah is not easy at all. That's a lot.
He's got two jobs, and he's a defensive right side midfielder at times, because he has to go over there, and his job is to get in the box. Yeah. He's been tasked with two very difficult jobs.
He's also, if you watch him, more like a captain higher up the pitch, because he gives an awful lot of instruction to the people around him, telling them where to go. And, it's... I can see him being a future captain of Liverpool, to be honest.
It's interesting, John, because I don't make this comparison lightly because it's not fair on Szoboszlai, but the Gerrard stuff, in terms of he's got the number 8 on his back. He's not Steven Gerrard. Of course, he's not. Steven Gerrard's one of the greatest football players that's ever lived. But he's doing a very similar role in that he's asked to do everything. Steven Gerrard's best quality, Gerrard could have been the best centre-back in the world, the best full-back, the best midfielder, he could have been anything because he was just that talented. Liverpool are asking Szoboszlai to do very similar things. I'm looking at his defensive work rate, just in terms of stats. He's 5 tackles and 2 clearances and a blocked shot, as well as winning 8 out of his 10 duels. I don't think
he wanted to block that shot with his face.
Yeah, with his face, it wasn't. He took one in the mush. But then in terms of his attack, and he gets a shot, he has the shot that Chloe says earlier, that it just goes wide. He completes all but 4 of his passes. He is like, we always used to say Gerrard is like the complete player because he can do everything. And Szoboszlai is heading that way, where Liverpool, you need him to defend, he can defend, but you need him to score goals and attack, he can do that as well. It's like, that number 8 on his back, it's scarily reminiscent of, not exactly the same, of course, but you can see the similarities in how they approach the game.
The work rate and the amount of the pitch they cover. Yeah. I mean, Gerrard could be a full back 1 minute and on the left wing the next. Yeah. He was all over the place when he would go where he was needed, and had the energy and ability to do it. And Szoboszlai's the same, and get in the box and shoot. And that's the only thing that Szoboszlai isn't doing. He isn't hitting 30 yards into the top corner, but then Gerrard only did it occasionally. It wasn't, and of course that's still there to come, I think, with Szoboszlai. It
is worth mentioning, Chloe, I think it might be the most important point on Szoboszlai. This has all happened since he put his headband in.
Oh, I don't like it.
No.
Can he go back to the other version of
I think he looks fantastic.
There's nothing
when that ball hits him in the face, I was worried about that because that's his money, isn't it?
There is nothing that man can do or wear that would make him not look great. That is what I can offer him. But at the same time, I liked it a couple of weeks ago where he didn't need the headband and it was still luscious. But who am I to judge? Go and lift me a Premier League title and, I don't really care how your hairstyle is.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, to go back to the more serious football conversation, I suppose, John. When you've got a lad like that in your team, I'm just thinking if you're everybody else, it must give you so much encouragement that, like I said, whatever job needs doing, he's there for us. The reason we're allowed to have Mohamed Salah doing Mohamed Salah stuff and almost cheating Mohamed Salah, he stays up the pitch and he's the outball, which he's great at, it's because we don't ask him to get back, because we know Szoboszlai, Gravenberch and McAllister, it's on them. You need those type of selfless players because to allow your ageing centre forward.
He allows Mo to play the way he does, but he also allows McAllister and Gravenberch to play the way they do. Yeah. McAllister is these days a very, very quiet midfielder. You hardly notice what he's doing. He's very effective in what he does, and he's very creative as well, which goes under the radar a lot. Yeah. But he wouldn't do that without Gravenberch, without Szoboszlai putting in the shift all the time. Yeah.
He was getting some criticism at the start of the season as well. Chloe did up again, a little bit of ups and downs, and I think everyone was raving about Ryan Gravenberch and Alexis McAllister. It felt like Szoboszlai, he actually wasn't always playing. It always felt like the manager really wanted to play Gravenberch and McAllister.
I think
choose out to Jones.
Part of his trouble, and it came from last season, is he was so good up till Christmas, and then faded away. And I think people still were thinking that he wasn't quite up to the level he could be, and that's gone out the window now because he certainly is.
I remember at the start of the season he was Slot's first sub, and I sat there and was like, I've gone from Jurgen Klopp, who that lad would be running to the ground time and time again, and at the start of this season it was always out of the 3 midfielders, Dom was the first to come off, and it was quite surprising because we all knew the engine and how big of a an asset that was to us, but obviously now you're seeing it more that Slot's trusted him, he's backed him, he's also got incredibly high standards. He's turned around and said we need more goals and assists from you, and he's had moments of brilliance. I think he's been inconsistent in the first period of the season, that was fair to say. But, you know, in the last several months, he's been absolutely brilliant, and he's popped up with massive games when leading the line as a number 9 as well, which isn't his role. You look back at Spurs in the league, obviously, and he's been brilliant the last couple of games as well. And it's because he's also got competition in Curtis Jones, and Curtis Jones has been pulling his weight as well. So it's really healthy from our perspective, and it's great that he's starting to back himself more, because there's been times this season where he's been in brilliant positions, and it's always been like he doesn't trust himself to finish the move off, and he's had to pass it, or he's had to take an extra touch, or he's not shot when he's needed to shoot, and then the moment's gone. Where now it just feels instinctual. It just feels like, yeah, I know my position.
The space now, doesn't he?
Yeah, I know my position. I've found the space, and I'm going to back myself.
And it's worth mentioning, John, it isn't the greatest shot in the world, but you know, don't buy a ticket, don't win the lottery kind of thing. I wonder if it's post Aston Villa when he did pass the Darwin, and listen, we don't want to go back over it again. I do wonder if someone's had a word in his ear, just have a shot, mate. Yeah. Like, what's the worst that can happen from here? Unless it's laying it on a plate for somebody like Jota did for Salah, I feel like take your shot.
You have a shot of Villa, the goalie probably pushes it out, and maybe there's a chance to come in after that as well. I mean, I think he was probably seen initially as him and Curtis, you know, they were fighting for one place. Yeah. And I think in Curtis's, just talk about Curtis, he can now play anywhere on that midfield, and I think he's trusted to play in any of those positions. So it's no longer, you know, just the two of them challenging each other. It's 4 men in midfield who can alternate and switch, you know, and I think Szoboszlai now is seen as almost essential, you know, because of that engine.
He's having a fantastic couple of weeks. He gets a nice break. He's well earned as well, and he get the batteries recharged and go and run around Paris, please, Dom. And if you can do the business over there as well, it will be most grateful.